really important for us to learn to coexist with wildlife, especially me as a rancher. We own lots of land. A lot of ranchers own a lot of land, and if we don't share that land with the wildlife, we just do not have enough national parks to be able to preserve it. I think it's detrimental. We need foxes and coyotes to help us with the mice, the different animals. So I believe it's vitally important to find ways to coexist, to invite wildlife onto your land and share it. There's space enough. Cattle ranchers, or any ranching actually in Canada, owns a lot of real estate. We have a lot of land. If we're not prepared to share that land with the wildlife, there really is no hope for wildlife, because you can't just limit them to those few little national parks we have. So we need to, as maybe conservationists and as wildlife lovers, we need to get ranchers involved. Get ranchers involved to help finding ways of coexistence. So that's what I'm going to sort of talk about. The fact that we are predator friendly, the ranchers in my MD think I'm a wolf lover, and that all I do is go about thinking that wolves are sweet Disney kind of animals. They think, that I go around hugging them and things like that. But, that's not what it is. I respect a wolf for the fact that he is wild, that he is, doing what wolfy things do. I love seeing them, but I'm also realistic about it. Yes, they do eat cattle. Yes, they do eat sheep. But is it as big a problem as we sometimes seem to think? So to me, being predator friendly is actually just about having a responsibility to create space, to create areas on your ranch that wildlife can exist. It does not mean to say that I don't have a responsibility to my sheep or to my cattle. I definitely do. I've got to keep them safe because I'm allowing these predators on our farms. I have a responsibility to look after them. To me, the key word is coexistence. I can be a cattle rancher here and I can have wildlife on my farm. The one does not exclude the other. It doesn't mean because I'm a cattle rancher that predators don't have a place on my ranch. I actually think they have a very important place. And to me, that is the reason why we applied for this certification. We are the first ranch in Canada to get this certification. We chose to go this route, not because of the added value that we might have in selling our meat products, but it's to open up lines of communication, because people say, hey, what is predator friendly? And as soon as you have that line of communication open, that's when you have the opportunity to educate, to help, to maybe plant a seed that, you do not need to shoot the predators, you do not need to trap them, you do not need to snare them, but you do need to do some work to make sure your livestock stays safe. So how big is the predation problem? Unfortunately, Canada keeps very bad statistics on, predation numbers. The numbers are very difficult to get hold of because cattle and sheep disappear. Sure, it's easy to say, wolf took my calf, because if you say a wolf took my calf, you get compensation. If you say a coyote took my calf, you don't get compensation. So, the numbers are very difficult to figure out, what is really going on, how true are predation numbers. So I got these statistics from the US, because the US are a little bit more rabid about, anti-wolves and things like that, so it's a bit easier to get information. So cattle mortality is 0.23% of cattle get predated on. That is nothing. The biggest causes of death are respiratory problems, digestive problems, calving problems, weather problems, and non-predator problems. So looking at those numbers, as a cattle rancher, if I make sure my calves don't get pneumonia or diarrhea, I'm probably going to save more than I would going out shooting wolves. Sheep mortality is 4% of the sheep inventory. Sheep are just really edible. They're small, they're easy to be predated on. So of course the numbers are higher. Coyotes are the biggest predators for sheep. Looking at these numbers, we know there is an issue. Like it can be, if you are a farm that is getting predated on regularly, you can be wiped out. You can have huge numbers of losses. These are like I'm not saying that every sheep farmer suffers 4%. One might have 0 and another might have 10%. So, if you are in that 10% category, you have a problem. I don't think we've got to underestimate that there is a problem, but it's maybe not as big as people like to think that it is.
No, I do not believe that wildlife and all wildlife is sufficiently protected. I think a lot of other interests maybe override that protection, and I think it's a real pity because Canada is known as one of the last wilderness places in the world. And if you just look what happens with persecution and how we deal with matters here, I think that the government, but also the people, have a responsibility, are not doing enough to coexist or find ways to coexist with wildlife.